Ever wondered why making healthy choices seems so hard, even though you know it's good for you? I just read a book. It's called The Pleasure Trap. This is written by Dr. Lisle and Dr. Goldhamer. This book blew my mind, and so I thought I would make a video reviewing it, talking about it, some of the things I liked and learned from the book. I actually don't even have the physical book with me because I already lent it out to someone. To briefly explain The Pleasure Trap, what it is all about, how modern pleasures really hijack your brain. And we're really not set up right now to win, I should say. The modern pleasures of like food, drugs, alcohol, all these different things are kind of keeping us hooked and trapped. And so that's why it's so hard to escape and get into healthy habits, because we are really being exploited by our biology. So one of the really cool things that I first learned with the book, it was I think the first, second, or third chapter, was they called it the motivational triad. Every human, as well as animals on this earth, are really doing three things, which is seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and doing it with as least energy as possible. And that motivational triad has really kept humans alive, kept animals alive and thriving. And in an environment like the natural environment from back in the day, this would be exactly what our brain and biology is designed for. Now, in the modern society, where we have this thing that they termed in the book magical food, right, with highly processed oils, salt, sugar, excess of like animal byproducts and animal products, all these different foods that are in our modern day diet, they're kind of set up to hijack our brain and pleasure stores, right? Where it's like really, really pleasurable. You can just literally go through McDonald's drive-thru and pick up some high calorie, highly salty, oily, and fatty foods. And that really isn't really set up against us, right? And so what I really appreciate about science books is when they can make it more relatable. And what I loved about this book is throughout it had lots of antidotes to help tell the story of why we are the way we are and the points that they were trying to make. I thought that was really helpful. Another thing I really appreciate about this book is really funny, actually. I'm a very extreme person. If you ask my friends and family around, they'll tell you I kind of do things to the fullest extent. If I want to get into like powerlifting, I'll hire a coach, I'll fly out to do a meet, right? Like I'll do like these fun stuff like that. Or if I'm, changing my diet to a vegan diet, I'll do it overnight. To my friends and family, I'm very extreme. And there's one chapter in this book that felt so validating. It was called The Myth of Moderation. And this chapter talks about how moderation in the pleasure trap is actually counterintuitive. Because if you think about it, if you're trying to eat healthier, for example, and you're trying to give up, sugar, oil, salt, or animal products, or whatever you're trying to exclude from your diet. If you go moderation, like the kind of conventional thinking, which is just everything in moderation, just a little bit, because the pleasure trap is working so hard against you by, giving you as much pleasure as possible, essentially you're kind of prolonging the pain of changing your habits. And so the book really recommended, when you're making changes for your sleep, your exercise, and your diet, to do it all at once and do it right away, so that the period of feeling better, like once you start feeling the effects of those major changes in your life, is faster. That will carry you through and make it more sustainable long term. And then the last thing that I really enjoyed about this book was actually the social element. A lot of health books that I've read are great for information, talking about like the different studies and all this stuff, different data and all that, but actually implementing it socially is quite hard. There's one chapter specifically about like when you make a healthy change, when you start eating, let's say, plant exclusive diet, there are going to be people that are going to come up and try to talk to you about it. The book actually had a lot of really great strategies on like how to handle other people and how to disarm people from the common talks, especially when you go vegan. And I relate a lot to this too, because in January 2020, I switched to being vegan, and I've had a lot of these unfortunate conversations. And it's funny enough, if like as soon as you go vegan, spoiler alert, everyone around you becomes a nutritionist, super concerned with your health. And I always found that funny because, I was 300 pounds at one point in my life and no one really said anything. As soon as I go vegan, it's like, oh my gosh, Aaron, where are you getting your protein from? You're gonna, you're not gonna be healthy. What about B12? How are you gonna get all this stuff? As soon as I was vegan, it was like everyone's my doctor now all of a sudden. So I wish I read this book prior to being vegan, honestly. It's what helped me a lot with my friends and family and people around me trying to talk to me about my lifestyle change. Anyways, there are people that are gonna try to drag you down to their level, right? If you're abstaining from alcohol and drugs, for example, there are gonna be people out there that are gonna try to pull you back in because they want to stay on the same level as you. There's different things you can do to disarm that, and I thought that was really helpful. Overall, I thought the book was a fantastic read. I read through it pretty quickly. I've even considered buying a couple different copies to give to more people. If you read The Pleasure Trap, let me know and tell me what you got from it. I'd love to hear about some of the things that maybe you learned or you weren't expecting to learn. And if you're interested in maybe adapting and changing your lifestyle to be more healthy and you want to get out of the pleasure trap, I'd highly suggest reading this book. It really did a lot for me. I hope you like this video. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a good one. Take care.